I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. New York Attorney General Letitia James just filed an incredibly powerful opposition legal brief to Donald Trump's summary judgment motion. Recall that Letitia James filed her own summary judgment saying that it is undisputed that Donald Trump and the other defendants in the civil fraud valuation case set to go to trial on October 2nd engaged in a massive fraud over many years, and that no jury could even disagree with the undisputed evidence that Donald Trump engaged in such ridiculously fraudulent conduct. Donald Trump responded with his own motion for summary judgment, basically embracing his tactics and saying that there's nothing wrong with this at all, also trying to claim that the causes of action against him are barred by the statute of limitations. In this brief, New York Attorney General Letitia James just lays down the gauntlet and says, let's be very clear. Donald Trump inflated his net worth in many years by between 17 and 39% at a minimum, or between $812 million to $2.2 billion, depending on the year. This is an opposition brief filed by the New York Attorney General's office to Donald Trump's motion for summary judgment. It's in many ways just laughing at Donald Trump's motion as being like, are you serious that you think that you're going to get this case dismissed? And if you go through right here some of what is written in this brief, again, one of the most powerful briefs I've read in a long time. New York Attorney General Letitia James says, in addition to the the New York Attorney General's office detailed analysis of the undisputed evidence presented in their partial summary judgment motion, it establishes that regardless of the valuation methodology purportedly used, defendants Donald Trump deceptively inflated the valuations of all of their properties and partnerships. And by the way, New York Attorney General Letitia James makes it easy and provides graphs. She says how these deceptive practices inflated Trump's annual net worth by 17 to 39% at a minimum, or between $812 million to $2.2 billion, depending on the year. But the extent of defendants' deception is far greater than what the people have even laid out in their partial summary judgment motion, relying just on the undisputed evidence. So what New York Attorney General Letitia James saying, it's probably billions of dollars more in fraud, but we're basically accepting as true for our analysis of what is undisputed, even the analysis by Donald Trump's witnesses, by Donald Trump's experts, by Donald Trump's testimony. It says, based on the analysis of the people's valuation and accounting experts, which factor into defendants' methodologies, Trump's methodologies, what markets participants would consider when determining estimated current value, Mr. Trump's net worth is overstated by billions more. Among the factors the people's experts take into account to adjust the methodologies used by Trump's are discounting future income to present value, correcting for inconsistent methodologies, failing to account for relative risk and property-specific attributes, failing to account for development costs, correcting the unsupportable market assumptions, and using income and expense information mirroring the behavior of market participants. Because remember, in Donald Trump's deposition, the transcript which was released fairly recently, the deposition took place back in April, Trump's market assumptions are, I could just make up whatever I want to make up. It's just common sense. And don't worry, the Saudis will just bail me out. And no matter, Trump actually said that. He said that I can sell it to the Saudis for any price that I want because my brand, he says, because he was a former president, is like Coca-Cola. It's a hot brand. He says that's how delusional and deranged he is. But let's go to some of the graphs, because I think these graphs that New York Attorney General Letitia James puts is so powerful. Here it is. Inflation of assets based on the undisputed evidence. Check this graph in New York Attorney General Letitia James' motion. Check it out. The undisputed evidence that people present in support of their motion for partial summary judgment establishes that many assets were grossly inflated by amounts that were material to any user of the statement of financial conditions, resulting in an overstatement of Mr. Trump's annual net worth by between 17 to 39%. Or between $812 million and $2.2 billion during the period of 2011 to 2021, as shown in the graph below. And then you see the graph below of all of the years: 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. And you can see what how much it was inflated by. And if it's corrected, you see in blue what the valuations should be, what the net worth should be. So you see how much higher here it is inflated by. Like, look, in 2011, inflated by $1 billion. In 2012, inflated by $1.5 billion. In 2013, inflated by $1.9 billion, inflated by $2.2 billion in 2014, inflated by $1.7 billion in 2015. The footnote says, as the people will present additional evidence at trial beyond the undisputed evidence supporting their partial summary judgment motion, demonstrating Trump's net worth in any year between 2011 and 2021 would be billions less than stated in his statement of financial conditions based on the work done by plaintiff's valuation experts. And what she's choreographing there, New York Attorney General Letitia James, is that even though this case is seeking at least $250 million in damages, I think she's going to ask the jury ultimately for over $2 billion in damages, perhaps even as much as $5 or $10 billion in damages, especially if you add punitive damage. Think about how powerful this case is. And then we see another chart of the inflated assets by year, and then each individual asset. So the triplex, for example. And New York Attorney General Letitia James breaks it down where Donald Trump claimed it was 30,000 square feet. It was 10,000 square feet. So by lying, he then multiplied the amount of square feet by the price per square footage. And then he came up with these inflated amounts. If you just accepted his numbers and then recalibrated it based on the fact that it's only 10,000 square feet, here are the numbers that you have. And you can see he inflated these assets by 114 million, 127 million, 207 million. Looking at the Seven Springs property, for example, you see she does the chart as well. Inflated by 204 million, 234 million. Here it is 40 Wall Street, inflated by 325 million, inflated by 195 million, 292 million. Mar-a-Lago was inflated the most, inflated by as much as $714 million in 2018 and $584 million in 2021. But here what she's saying is, look, we're just taking Donald Trump's numbers right now, and then we're looking at the actual valuations and the appraisals. That's all we're comparing. But where she's saying it's actually more is, look, in Donald Trump's deposition, he claimed that Mar-a-Lago is worth $1.25 billion. So actually he's inflating the valuation if you take these numbers by over $1 billion of Mar-a-Lago. Miami Doral, he said, is worth billions. He's inflating that by billions of dollars. And then going back to the introductory paragraph in New York Attorney General Letitia James' motion here, she goes, defendant's motion, Trump's motion, is unmoored from the prior rulings in this case and the evidentiary record. Unmoored from it. And what she's saying is that he's not even utilizing the evidentiary record. He's making up his own alternative facts. And there have already been rulings. For example, when Donald Trump is claiming that the statute of limitations expired, as New York Attorney General Letitia James points out, Trump, you already made that argument to the First Appellate Division. They rejected that argument already when this was briefed. And so the First Appellate Division basically said, look, if you're still submitting the statement of financial conditions through February 6th of 2016, that's within the statute of limitations period. And here she's saying, even if loan transactions may have closed before that date, if you are utilizing the statement of financial conditions to commit the fraud within the statute of limitations period, that's clearly within the statute of limitations. And the First Appellate Division has already made that ruling before. And then she points out that a bunch of Trump's other arguments have already been rejected by Judge Arthur Engoron, the judge who will be hearing this motion, as well as the First Appellate Division. I love that language, unmoored from prior rulings and the evidentiary record. But you see there the graphs, data, statistics, facts, evidence being presented. I'm confident the judge will reject Donald Trump's motion for summary judgment, may grant New York Attorney General Letitia James' motion, may just say, hey, we're going to give this to the jury ultimately, and let's let the jury decide, because if the judge decides liability, then that could potentially, I think the judge could say, look, let's let a jury decide so that it's not Donald Trump saying, oh, look, the judge is doing this, or let a full trial take place. But anyway, we will keep you posted here about what's going down. Make sure but again, very powerful motion. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers, and check us out. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Have a great day.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.